Summer is fast approaching, and I think it's time we took a little bit of stress out of our lives, isn't it? With HelloFresh UK, you can get all the ingredients and inspiration you need to make your meal times and your cooking experience simpler than ever. HelloFresh provides a number of recipes and meals to make your life as easy as possible and also caters to a wide range of different dietary requirements. Use my special discount to get 50% off your first order plus 35% off the next three and 3 free gifts as well. What more could you ask for? Check out the discount link or the checkout code down in the description below. Hello and welcome along to match day 46 of Championship predictions from the Honest Football Podcast with me, Daniel. Yes, for the final time this season, we are back for a full match day, and there's only one thing left to settle in the Championship. The top 2 automatic promotion was done a while ago, and on Thursday we saw the conclusion of the relegation battle as Huddersfield got their win against Sheffield United. More on that in the recap in a minute. But the race for the playoffs is well and truly alive. It is 2 teams from 5, with Coventry, Millwall, Sunderland, West Brom and Blackburn chasing the final 2 playoff spots. So of course, during our predictions today, we will spend a lot longer on those matches than we will on the rest of the others. We'll fly through the other 8 or 9. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some good scores. But before that, a quick shout out to our brand partners today, HelloFresh UK and NordVPN. Both of those links down in the description below. And let's have a quick recap of what happened the last 2 match days, because the last full one, match day 45, well, it didn't quite go to plan, did it? 7 points for me, which was actually the second best of everyone in the comments, and 2 perfect scores, both for the Championship's favourite scoreline. When will I learn to do more of them? The 1-1 scoreline delivered again. That was for Hull versus Swansea and also for Blackburn v Luton. The winner though for match day 45 was W&G fan. You pipped me with 8 points and got a Championship's favourite scoreline too. So well done to you for winning match day 45. I think that's 2 full match days in a row you've won now. In match day 45.5 it was a very different story. A few of you thought Huddersfield would nick the point they need. A few of you thought Sheffield United would win. Only one man predicted the Huddersfield win. Not the perfect score, but you got the point. So well done to Marvin, who was the only person to predict Huddersfield's safety with a big 3 points. With that though, we head into match day 46, which includes a couple of absolute whoppers at the top. I mean, look at the one like Millwall, Blackburn, for example. You are not going to get much bigger than that. We're going to run through in our normal alphabetical order as all the games kick off at 3 PM on Bank Holiday Monday. Let's start with the first one, which is Birmingham City versus Sheffield United. Both sides pretty happy with their seasons. Birmingham tipped by many to go down, and despite a bit more chaos off the pitch at times, it's been a very good year for them. 2 defeats in a row since going past that 50-point mark, and to be fair, they've never been the most fluent scorers this year, but they've put in decent displays defensively, and they'll try and frustrate the Blades. But we've seen it before on the last day of the season. There's going to be 2 or 3 crazy games around. And Sheffield United on Thursday, whether it was a favour to Neil Warnock, whether it was just a bit too much party time, it all came crashing down, didn't it? They created a few good chances, but they weren't getting in with complete regularity. And they had a lot of the ball. They prodded and probed, but it wasn't a vintage Sheffield United display. So I'm not expecting much from this game. I think it could be one where Sheffield United have a lot of the ball and Birmingham almost play like an away side. We know the Blades are good on the road. I'm not sure if they're going to win it. I am going to go for them to nick this one. No thriller. I start with 1-0 for Sheffield United. Let's move on to the champions who, like Sheffield United, are also preparing for life in the Premier League. It is Burnley versus Cardiff City. Cardiff in 21st, but comfortably safe going into the final day. A good job done by Sabri Lamucci. And then, of course, they helped Huddersfield out last Sunday as well. But the 3 games before that were the ones that wrapped it up. And Cardiff, another season in the Championship, and I'm sure they'll want to build again in the summer. For Burnley, not the best display since they've won the league, but the last 2 games, they've got the victories, they've managed to get the results on the road. Can they now bounce back from their first home defeat of the season? That's the big question. They were by far the better side against Bristol City. They obviously won the title at Blackburn. It's been a very good week. It's been a very good season. And of course, Vince and company has got a couple of months of big work to do now. I'm of course going to go for them to bounce back at home. They've won 15 of their 22 matches. Cardiff not the best on the road. Very rarely draw games either. So I'm going to go for Burnley to nick it. pretty convincingly, but nothing outlandish. I'm going to go for 3-1 for the hosts, and I think they'll see off their championship season by reaching the 100-point mark. Let's move on to what was going to be the biggest game of Monday afternoon. It is Huddersfield Town versus Reading. Of course, it was being billed as the battle for survival, and it could have been if Huddersfield lost on Thursday night. But they have taken all the pressure off, and what a way to do it as well. A really good result at home to Sheffield United. They frustrated them, they sat in and restricted them well. And do you know what? What a goal to win it. It typified Neil Warnock's spell there. The resilience to hold off opposition from Danny Ward, very strong on the ball, held it up well, and a lovely curling finish. That little sprinkling of quality and that little touch of the audacious and the bravery to go for it. Something that Huddersfield weren't doing earlier in the season. They weren't having shots on goal in games, and that's something that's changed under Warnock. 7 points in 3 games secures their safety. They reached the 50-point mark, and from where they were, 22 points in 15 games for Warnock so far, and they now would have survived regardless of other point deductions, which you've got to say is a marvellous effort. So a big well done to them, but commiserations at the same time to Reading. They drew yet again at 1-1 against Wigan, and it's been the story under interim management. Lots of draws, lots of frustration. I do stand by my point, and I know it's not a popular one. They had a top 6 home record under Paul Ince, and that has drifted away since. And against Wigan, it was just a very disappointing way to end. If they'd won that game, they would have still just about been in it going into this final day. As it is, Huddersfield, they were out on the town on Thursday night. I think it's going to be very difficult for them on Monday. Reading are the worst away team in the Championship though. They don't score many, they've let in over 40. I've got a feeling this could be a bit of a bonkers game, because I just think both teams are going to play with freedom. Huddersfield might give a few of the younger lads a go. Neil Warnock has done his job now. I'm sure he'll be relaxed. And maybe Huddersfield being relaxed will see more of the form of last season. I'm going to go for them to win this, and I'm going to go for a crazy game. I think I'm going to go for 4-2. I'm making a habit of that this week. Link to the National League playoff semi-final predictions if you don't know what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead to the game I'm going to be at. It is Luton Town versus Hull City. Luton continue to rotate little elements of the squad ahead of the playoff semi-final. For Hull, a very good end to the season. Only 1 defeat in their last 6, which was at a rampant Middlesbrough side. And they've generally been very good defensively. Only conceded in 2 of their last 5 matches. Luton have started drawing 1-1 a lot. They're still on that unbeaten run of 13 games. And that's going to be the focus of Monday, I think. Keeping that unbeaten run into the playoffs, but whilst giving a few players a bit of a break. I can see Luton starting strong, making 5 early changes. And I can see them maybe getting pegged back late on. So I am going to go for a draw in this one again, despite Luton being the favourites on paper. And I'm going to go for 2-2 because I want entertainment in my final home league game of the season. Luton, it's all about the playoffs now. But who are they going to be facing? We'll work it out from my predictions later. Well, next up, we move on to the other side that are guaranteed a playoff place already. It is Middlesbrough against playoff hopefuls Coventry City. 3rd v 5th would be a great game on paper. Coventry basically need a point. They're 3 clear of 7th, 8th and 9th. They've got a far better goal difference than 2 of them. We've seen Middlesbrough can give beatings to teams if they want to this season. Certainly under Michael Carrick, they've been brilliant for the most part, but not in the last week. 2 away defeats, a lot of rotation of the squad. Michael Carrick trying to keep people fresh for the playoffs, whereas Coventry, big back-to-back home wins, which has got them right back in the mix for the playoffs. And let's be honest, it would be a bit of a travesty if they didn't make it from here. They're in the pole position. They should be the side that make it. I guess it's whether it's 5th or 6th based on that. They'll be hoping Sunderland don't win, because if that's the case, they've basically done it. Coventry like a draw away from home. Middlesbrough have been excellent at home under Michael Carrick, but I don't think you're going to see much of a first team from them in this one, and that makes it a little trickier to predict. I feel like the pressure's on Coventry. It's a position where they faded away from in the last year. They've not been in that playoff since returning to the Championship. I'm going to go for Middlesbrough to nick this game. I still think Coventry will get in, and I'll see if my predictions stack up to that later. But I'm going to go for Middlesbrough to nick this by 2-1. Well, next up is the really juicy one, isn't it? We've got Millwall versus Blackburn Rovers. 6th v 9th, 2 of the sides that can make it. If Blackburn win, they overtake Millwall. And with other results, they could get into the playoffs still. Not likely, given that they haven't won since the last international break and since that FA Cup quarter-final defeat. They're on an awful run. They've not had a great time, and they just keep drawing games, which is not enough for them at this point. They've got the only negative goal difference in the top 10, which is scandalous. But then Millwall aren't in great form either. A crucial 3-2 away win at Blackpool last week, but 3 defeats in 4 prior to that, all against sides in the bottom half. The Den is going to be rocking, the Den is going to be full and expectant. Will it spur the team on, or will it lead to the big players freezing on the occasion? It's again a situation where Millwall have missed out narrowly by 2 or 3 years in a row now. And you just have to ask the question, can they get over the line here? I think ultimately they are going to be better than Blackburn because Blackburn fade later in the year and they've got the biggest outside chance of making it due to their goal difference. So I'm going to go for Millwall to win. I think it's going to be a pretty ugly game. I'm going to go for Millwall to win it. I'm going to go by 1-0, which might be a brave or stupid decision for a pressurised final day. Into the second half, another dead rubber. It is Norwich City versus relegated Blackpool. For Norwich, what a time to produce your worst run under David Wagner, who had been doing so well up to that point. But 2 points in their last 5 matches, including defeats against all of those sides around them and just above in that playoff race. Well, ultimately, that's what's cost them. They now can't make it. They will finish in between 10th and 12th place at the minute. A very disappointing return for them. I think all of us had them in the promotion mix. For Blackpool, it's relegation to League One. And against Millwall, well, it just faded very early, didn't it? Once they let in a second minute, albeit they did well to fight back from behind twice, you just knew it probably wasn't going to be their night. And in the end, over the course of the season, particularly given their managerial appointment last summer, it just didn't work out. And a lot of us were worried from that very point. So Blackpool down, it's the battle for bottom place with Wigan Athletic. Norwich City should finish off in style here. I know they've been in poor form, but I think they're going to win this one. I'm going to go for them to do so by 3-1. On to another massive game, but only for one side now. It is Preston North End versus Sunderland. Sunderland keep their unbeaten run going with a 2-2 draw against Watford. What a fight back from 2-0 down that was. Patrick Roberts' 95th minute goal, keeping the Mackems in with a chance of a second successive playoff promotion. And maybe that's going to benefit them in this game. They got into the playoffs last year in League One. They got through them successfully. And they'd had heartbreak in them the years before as well. So it's something they're well versed in and experienced in. But given what happened early in the season with Alex Neil, you've got to give Tony Mowbray massive credit just for getting them into this position. And Sunderland are going to be a strong force next year. For Preston, a little bit like Norwich before, they hit poor form at the wrong time. They've let in, 11 goals in their last 4. They've played 3 of the sides in that promotion mix with them or the race for the playoffs. And Sheffield United played them off the park despite already being promoted. So for me, Preston, a poor side at home. And for Sunderland, they're a great side away from home. Only the top 3 have got a better record away from home this season in the Championship. And they're on a long unbeaten run. Do Sunderland do it though? So I'm going to go for them to be frustrated. They've got a very young side in areas and they've not got that firepower up front. We know Preston's defence can be strong. We know they've not been brilliant recently. But I am going to go for the Championship's favourite scoreline because I don't do it often enough. And I think Sunderland just will miss out. But next season, they're going to be strong. And well done to Craig as well, because he said they were going to finish 7th this year. He might be right at the end of Monday afternoon. On to another dead rubber at the bottom, which Gareth Ainsworth will be very happy about. It is QPR versus Bristol City. It looks like the rock and roll football manager has finally got a tune from his team. 7 points from the last 3 games, enough to keep QPR up. And they are going to need one hell of a rebuild in the summer, which I'm pretty sure will start very quickly. For Bristol City, inconsistent, yes, but they've beaten Rotherham and lost to a lot of top teams recently. The top 2, they drew with Borough, they lost to Watford. You can't be too critical of them. It's another mid-table season with a mid-table level squad. And I don't really know what more you can expect than that. For this game, it is going to be absolutely impossible to predict. Both sides are unpredictable. Both sides are in and out of form at times. But QPR are ropey at the back. They've let in 69 goals this year. The most of anyone outside the bottom 3. And the most of anyone other than Blackpool, to be fair. Bristol City are in poor form, but they've done all right against the sides that aren't in that top half. So I think they're going to get some goals in this one. I'm going to go for Bristol City to win it. I'm going by 3-2 to finish off. Let's move on to the final big game in the playoff race. It is Swansea City versus West Bromwich Albion. Swansea now can't make it despite a gallant run towards the end. A 1-1 draw away at Hull City costing them. For West Brom, though, a 2-1 win against Norwich. A great comeback from 1 down. And they are just about in the mix still. Jed Wallace, the man who got the winner. And to be fair, West Brom deserved it over the 90 minutes. By far the better side. They've got to win and hope for other things, but looking at the goal difference, they basically need Millwall to draw or lose because you're looking at Sunderland and Coventry and theirs are too good. So Swansea, probably trying to restrict West Brom here. There is a little bit of drama with these clubs based on the almost transfer of Karlan Grant on deadline day. That one fell through due to paperwork late on. There was a little controversy surrounding who was at fault. I wonder if that's going to play a part in this one. Swansea have been brilliant recently, including defensively for the most part, but we know they're only ever one game from a calamitous disaster. But West Brom, again, lost to two of the top sides recently, but otherwise have been very consistent. I don't think West Brom are going to make it, but Corberán has recovered really well for them, and I think given the right recruitment this summer, they will be shoo-ins for the top 6 next year. So West Brom, I'm going to go to get a point in this game, but I'm not going to go for them to win it. I'm going to go for another Championship's favourite scoreline, 1-1 between Swansea and West Brom. 2 more to get through, and the first of them is one of the hardest to predict in the league. It is Watford versus Stoke City. Stoke have been a disaster to predict for a long time now. They had that brilliant run, followed by a pretty poor one. They're another side that are going to need a big overhaul this summer. It's now 6 without a win, including 4 defeats, and they've only scored 3 goals in those 6 matches too. For Watford, the problem is more at the other end. They concede virtually every chance they give away. A 2-2 draw against Sunderland, and it's the same thing with Watford. There's no bottle, there's no spirit. We know João Pedro's off to Brighton in the summer now. Probably not a bad thing for Watford if they reinvest it well. But that's a pretty big if based on the last couple of years. The last win was against Bristol City. I don't know whether I predict one here because Stoke are a mess at times. We're either going to get an absolute thriller or we're going to get a 1-0 either way. And you know what? I'm going to go for the boring one. I think Watford might actually nick this game because Stoke have been so poor recently. I'm going to go for Watford to finish remarkably with a clean sheet and a 1-0 win at home to Stoke. On to the final game then. It is Wigan versus Rotherham. A tale of 2 very different emotions between last year's promoted clubs. About a year ago, these two were celebrating finishing 1st and 2nd in League One. We were there when Wigan won the league at Shrewsbury. What a day it was. But what a difference a year makes. As I record this, more drama about possible unpaid wages. It's ridiculous and it's got to be sorted from the football club. The worry, of course, for Wigan is nothing to do with today. It's more about what happens next year now. If this stuff carries on over the summer, are they going to end up with points deductions or breaches or charges in League One? Are they going to have problems with embargoes, whatever? It's got to get sorted for the sake of the club. For Rotherham, what a 1-0 win against Borough. Not many of us saw that coming. The red card for Borough on the stroke of half-time helped, but Rotherham got their goal and then they defended resolutely. Not much of the ball, not many chances. In fact, their only shot on target was their goal. But they got the win, they've got themselves safe, and they will be in the Championship next year, which myself, Craig, and nobody else expected. So well done to Rotherham, and well done to Matt Taylor, who took over in a difficult position. For this game, I think it's going to peter out. It's a poor one on paper. Rotherham haven't been great recently. That win against 10-men Borough ended a very long winless run. They've been poor for the last 5. I saw them when Luton were up there a few weeks ago and they were uninspiring. And Cardiff were the better side against them too. For Wigan, it's actually 7 points out of 9. You could easily predict them a win. But it depends whether the players are paid by the weekend. I'm going to go for the Championship's favourite scoreline. We'll finish with the worst home team in the league, adding 1 more point to their tally. So let's have a quick recap of what I've predicted in that crucial race for the playoffs then. I haven't got any of the sides between 7th and 9th winning, with Sunderland and West Brom being held to draws away from home and Blackburn losing away narrowly at Millwall. That means Millwall will leapfrog Coventry into 5th place, who will drop to 6th with a defeat at Borough. And that means my playoffs will be Luton versus Coventry and Middlesbrough versus Millwall. That's going to be pretty interesting if it works out that way. We'll see if anyone else can spoil the party from just outside. They're just my predictions. Do you think they're right or wrong? Let me know down in the comments below. Give us your predictions for matchday 46. And as always, if you beat me, you will get a shout out in the next recap. That will come before the Championship semi-final playoff predictions, the episode for which will be out in the middle of next week alongside the playoff predictions for the semi-finals in League 1, League 2 and the playoff final predictions for the National League, which is next Saturday. Their semi-finals are this Sunday. You can see the predictions for those up in the eye above. Do check them out if you've never watched them before, because the National League playoffs are always entertaining. If you want to stay up to date with this channel, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. It's going to be an absolutely huge month on the channel. A massive thank you for watching as always. If you enjoyed it, please do put a thumbs up on it. Links in the description to our brand partners HelloFresh and NordVPN. You can also find our affiliate deal for Canva down there. And up in the eye above, all the other playlists, matchday action and playoff predictions. There's plenty of more to come in the next few weeks. Thank you very much for watching as always. I hope your team gets over the line if you're in playoff chasing action on Monday. And I'll see you back here next week for the Championship playoff semi-final predictions.